Rhinopack fully automatic round bottle labeling machine video setup tutorial. So we start by attaching our label roll attachment piece. This is done by inserting the 3 screws into these 3 points seen here. This is done in order to secure the label roll onto the bracket. Secondly, we'll apply the label roll onto the attached part. Make sure your labels are left edge leading, that is suitable for the machine. So we'll start by adding it onto the first roller and wrapping the label roll around the second roller, feeding it into the rollers inside the machine. Pass it through the label tensioner and around the back roller. Wrap it around through the sensor fork, through these 2 rollers, around the label peeler plate, then wrap it around the last few sets of rollers. Place it through the grip tensioner, around the back roller, onto the waste collector reel. Add the fork onto the top of the roller. This holds the waste reel in place. This collects all the reel once the labels have been detached from them. Once your labels are reeled through the machine and all align, we'll then add the cap onto the top of the label roll. This is just to secure it tightly. Push down and tighten the Allen cap into place. Once that's done, we'll go through back to the label tensioner and we'll just make sure the label plastic tensioner plate is secured along the label roll or the label. After that, we'll then move to the sensor. We'll make sure the sensor is activating correctly on the brake. So here we see that the light is flashing between the brake. This is correct. If this is not the case and there is no flashing, we will then adjust by either moving upwards or downwards, setting sensitivity plus or minus until we get that flashing brake in the label. After this, we'll move to the grip tensioner. We will then turn the handle. This is just to make sure that the grip tensioner is tight and in place. So you'll see this roll will not be able to move once this is tightened. Once that is done, we'll move over to the alignment plates. Here we'll see these little wheels amongst the rollers. We'll push those down just to keep all the labels in line. You'll see this is done on each and every one of the rollers. This is just done to make sure that the labels don't move out of place or move up and down while in progress. Once that is done, then we will just tension the labels a little bit, make sure the label roll has is tensed or is kept taut. This needs to be done as well for alignment purpose, so labels don't move out of alignment. On the bottom left hand side of the machine, you will notice an on-off button and a speed control unit. This speed control unit controls the speed of the spacer wheel at which it allows bottles to pass. Then on the right hand side at the bottom of the machine, you'll notice a second speed control unit. This speed control unit controls the wraparound belt system. We also have an emergency stop unit, this red button over here. If there is a problem with the system, you will then press the emergency stop, which will then stop all functions of the machine. Once you need to continue, always make sure the emergency stop button is unplugged. If this is not unplugged, the machine will not operate at all. Moving on to setup of the bottles, we have these guide rails which need to be adjusted in and out. This is done tightening or fastening or loosening these points here. This allows this guide rail to move in and out depending on the size of your bottle. So we have a small size bottle, so the guide rails are fairly tightly together. We got to make sure that once setting up the bottle, we also set up the back plate, which is this unit here. This is done by turning this wheel clockwise or anti-clockwise just to move it back and forth. So once that is done, we'll make sure that our bottles can move directly in a perfectly straight line. So we'll turn the conveyor system on just so you can have a look. So as you see, it moves perfectly through the system. We might need to move the backing plate a little bit forward just to put a little bit of tension on the bottle. As you see, the two plates should be hugging the bottle, not too tight, just enough for it to pass through the system, so we get a nice feel of the label onto the bottle. Then moving on to the sensor. This is the bottle sensor, so you'll notice there is a sensor sticking out over here. This will activate the label dispense. So in order to set the label sensor, you'll use this blue screwdriver that is supplied with the machine. You'll see there's a sensitivity screw, so you'll adjust that clockwise or anti-clockwise whilst passing the bottle through the sensor. Once you get a flashing light, once the bottle passes the sensor, you know that it is reading the sensor. We'd then like to show you a few adjustment points that can be adjusted on the label roll mechanism and the back of the machine. Firstly, you'll notice a few spindles, namely the top spindle, which can be adjusted or rotated clockwise or anti-clockwise. This determines the height of the label that is being dispensed on the bottle. So if you need the label to be a bit higher or lower, that can be adjusted on the top spindle. Then you'll notice there are 4 bottom spindles. These 4 spindles can be adjusted to apply tilt on the label. If the label is a bit slanted backwards and forwards, this can be adjusted on these 4 spindles. If the label is a bit skew, that can also be adjusted on the back here.